Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
We'll call our Parks Commission meeting to order at 6 p.m. for February 2025. We need a motion to approve the minutes for January, and I'll offer the motion to approve with the one edit I know of. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. The edit is that for our list of attendees at last month's meeting, Sarah Schroeder's name was left out. Does anyone else have something to add? Okay. Those in favor of the minutes as... Oh, thank you. There's something for me to read. I'm very focused on 5A. In 7A, the last paragraph, a comment by Patrick. This is from Patrick Cheney. Complete is spelled incorrectly. It says compete and it should be complete. Add an L. Is that correct, Patrick? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, with those two edits, all those in favor of the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our minutes are approved. Do we have any public appearances for non-agenda items? Okay, moving on, we will review and approve our current agenda. Is there a motion to approve our agenda as written?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the agenda? All right. The agenda is, we'll vote. Those in favor of the agenda as written, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We keep our agenda. Okay. So 5A, we have quite a few people who would like to comment. And so I'll have a public comment period that will begin shortly. There's a 3-minute limit for each person, and I'll try to call you up two at a time so that there's a little bit less time in between each person who is speaking. There are also some comments that I'm going to look at first that people would like read, and so I'm going to just start with that. We have a Christopher Unger giving an address within Fitchburg, registering in support and stating McGaw is a great public resource. Thanks for investing in the facilities. Like the courts and fields, we should make sure the invasives are removed. The next one is Ann Sawyer, also a Fitchburg address, registering in support. We have a Sue Saithaffer, and I'm sorry if I'm not using the correct pronunciation of the last name, but that is a Fitchburg address registering in opposition. We have Mary Hess with a Fitchburg address registering in opposition with a statement to read, which is pretty lengthy. I'm just looking. This looks like one that was also emailed to us. I have 2 dogs, walk in the park. The dogs are reactive. The woods and bushes offer sufficient screening. The dogs relax. Other owners have exhibiting a similar behavior with their dogs. Denuding the woods eliminates coverage, and this is an important reason to not proceed. If the entrance to McGaw is indicative of future plans, it may change the current nature of the park. People and dogs can walk along paths with a sense of privacy and distance from other owners. Another point is developed area near the entry of McGaw. It has sticks, weeds, sharp pieces of wood, caused injuries to my dog's feet. If this is the example of the job that is going to be done, it makes walking challenging. Paths that allow quiet, secluded walk will be gone if the area is changed. And the coolness found in the woods on a hot day is turned into a hotter environment. Wildlife, birds, squirrels, etc., will not have the best use of the area after it's cleared out. And she enjoys hearing the wildlife. And so that's...
Sue, I'm sorry to interrupt. May I just suggest that with the emails, since they are public record, that we just sort of do a tally, this person opposed, this person for, that sort of thing, because they are all public record, and then anybody with an interest is able to go and read them word for word.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I looked at the name, I'm pretty sure this is one that was not an email, but I think you're correct. And actually, I just finished. So I do have...
Thank you.
Yeah. And here's one, Michaela Cheney, a Fitchburg address, registering in opposition. I will read the quick comment. The trails help keep our reactive dogs more calm, and it's easier to train them if they can't see other dogs in the area, especially with dog owners that let their dogs off leash when they're not supposed to. Mariah Cheney, also Fitchburg address, registering in opposition. Here's a more brief statement attached to summarize. Reasons to not cut down the forest, leave the habitat for the animals that live there. The forest filters the air, improves air quality, regulates the temperature. The forest reduces exposure to waterborne pollutants by allowing rainwater to be filtered. Quoted from Wisconsin DNR, nature's been shown to reduce cardiovascular disease, mental illness, ADHD, etc., other illnesses. Clearing out the forest will allow even more invasives to grow. She's expressing appreciation for the seclusion of the trails and the dogs, and that they become excited seeing other dogs. Leaving the forest alone contributes to more privacy to the properties nearby, provides educational opportunities, and a wind block. And now I've got some people who would like to come up and speak. Why don't we have the Halfords both come up, please? Go ahead when you're ready. Either one?
My wife will go first.
Okay.
In 2012, the McGaw Park Master Plan, I'll call MASTER, approved and adopted by the Common Council, included a policy to control invasives while protecting the woods. In 2018, R17-18, the Forest Management Plan for McGaw Community Park, which I'll call Forest, was approved by the Common Council for areas 1 and 5 only. Areas 2, 3, and 4 of the Forest Plan were never approved by the Common Council. We attended every public community meeting during the time the Forest Plan was discussed. We presented our objections to the plan and the process by which the plan came to be. The master plan called for a forest plan to protect the woods and preserve the trees. It did not call for the woods to be replaced by a savanna, which is basically a meadow with no trees except an occasional oak or hickory. The forest plan presented did not meet the specifications called for in the master plan. The forest plan was developed by a private company, Adaptive Restoration, and presented to the Parks Commission at the December 1 meeting in 2016. None of the Park Commission members had a copy of the 202-page plan before the meeting began. There was no copy of the plan in the meeting packet available to the Parks Commission or the public. The presentation to the Parks Commission was made by the plan developer Mike Healy of Adaptive Restoration. Mike Healy is Anna Healy's husband. Anna Healy was listed as city forester in the meeting minutes. The Parks Commission approved the 202-page Adaptive Restoration Forest Plan at that 12/1/16 meeting based only on what was presented by Mike Healy at the meeting because they did not have copies of the Forest Plan before the meeting. During 2017, many public and private presentations of this plan were made to the Fitchburg community by Scott and Anna. Our East Fitchburg Neighborhood Association asked for a non-public meeting limited to only the neighbors of McGaw Park, who were most affected by the plan. Our request was never granted. Our supposed neighborhood meeting was noticed as a public meeting and was attended by those outside the neighborhood who supported the plan and the Parks Commission. Our concerns were ignored. In 2018, the resolution to approve the forest plan came to the Common Council. We convinced our alter at the time to introduce the amended language in R17-18 to only approve areas 1 and 5 and not approve areas 2, 3, and 4. The McGaw Park neighbors are most significantly affected by actions in areas 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, thank you. Your 3 minutes has finished.
May I take some of his minutes?
Sure.
We continue to advocate for the protection of the wooded area called for in the master plan. We do not want an oak savanna in the neighborhood portion of McGaw Park that is adjacent to our properties. Remember, McGaw Park functioned as a neighborhood park for the adjacent property owners. We want woods with lots of tall trees. We want peace and quiet for woodland walks and walkable trails. We want setback that provides separation from the light and noise of park activities. In R220-24, the update proposed to the forest plan to include planting a buffer implies the existing buffer will be removed. If new trees and shrubs are to be planted, it will be many years before they provide any noise or light separation. Why not keep a current buffer of existing trees, a setback several feet thick in what is essentially our neighborhood park until the newly planted trees and shrubs are more mature? In conclusion, if you read the entire 202-page forest plan, including the fine print, it's really more of a deforestation plan. It calls for removing 90+% of the existing trees to create a mostly treeless oak savanna. It is not the plan the entire community asked for and approved in the 2012 master plan. which envisioned protecting the wooded area. Don't destroy the largest public woodlot in Fitchburg, especially the beautiful canopy of black ocus trees. Do remove the invasive shrubs and fallen trees to restore the trails through the wooded area, but please don't cut down healthy, tall, green, shade-providing, stormwater-retaining, carbon dioxide-consuming, living, breathing trees to build a meadow. Please vote no on R220-24. Talk to the neighbors before moving on in areas 2, 3, and 4. There is no rush. We're still waiting for a chance to sit down with you and be heard. We deserve input on what happens in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Halford.
In 2018, the Common Council approved the Forest Management Plan for McGaw Community Park for Areas 1 and 5. Areas 2, 3, and 4 in McGaw Park were not approved. We convinced the majority of the Common Council at the time that questions about potential environmental impacts to adjoining landowners from Dahmer's View and Tucklewick Hills, resulting from drastic changes proposed in the Forest Plan, were not being recognized nor addressed. Environmental impacts included a potential 91% increase in noise and light from park activities, a potential 91% increase in stormwater runoff and erosion, and yet unknown impact to well and septic systems and the health of adjoining landowners from use of chemicals to treat invasives. All would result from land-disturbing removal of estimated 5,000 trees in areas 2, 3, and 4, plus the removal of all invasive ground cover on an estimated 27 acres of McGaw Park.
Okay, thank you. That's the remainder of the time.
Vote against it.
All right, we have Mr. Ron Dahmershausen and Patrick Cheney.
Take your time.
Oh, I'm not allowed to take my time. I only get 3 minutes.
Because you was real good.
All right, Mr. Cheney. Go ahead.
All Park Commission members heard the mayor at your January meeting giving instructions for future projects. I heard it as well, and I watched replays several times, and I took notes. Did you? The mayor said, give your top priorities, where to concentrate, finish what is started. Staff and funding are at capacity. Don't invest time in something we don't have resources for. Lots of money invested in the current list. No new projects. In the later council meeting, the mayor listed 6 major park projects, all needing a lot of money, but you are considering adding this on. This proposal is a 0 priority. This Maintenance Fund 6259 is on our property taxes. I am here in person at every parks meeting for well over 2 decades, and none of the neighbors ever came here asking to cut down this woods. No neighbors of any other woods ever came asking parks to cut down their woods either, and they should have the say on theirs. We are perfectly happy with McGaw Woods as it is. It is a great benefit we enjoy and do not want any dollars spent to change it. This is the largest park with the largest woods with a long-established, extensive hiking trail system, unique valued features. This dense woods is protection for 2 neighborhoods from strong wind storm events like this, and visual screening of field lights and noise. It is home to many animal species, including our local deer herd, who graze McGaw's lawns and bed down in the deep wood spots. The greenery along all trails provides individuals with separation and privacy and immersion in a dense wooded environment. Hikers, skiers, dog walkers come here for exactly this scenery, a view without seeing cars or houses. It's not a city sidewalk view. A buffer of current existing free trees and bushes would be replaced with all of many years of the total tree and shrub budget. Past comments from adjoining and adjacent neighbors denounce this controversial plan idea and still hate this plan today. This popular trail system in McGaw and Johnson parks is reduced by earlier work. Johnson is no trail anymore, just open areas. Neighbors across from Johnson Park see it every day and hate it. One McGaw Trail is now an open field of debris, as if a tornado hit it. McGaw Trails are here some 40 years. The Park Commission added one new trail close to houses by less than unanimous vote. But now this eradicates these trails to open areas of jagged, chopped chunks, difficult to walk through on rough chip piles. Charts and graphs and paragraphs in this plan list most everything as invasive, so all of that could be cut and eliminated. Do a roll call vote so everyone, the affected neighbors can see, council alders can see, and the mayor can see who in this commission is truly representing your residents' and neighbors' interests and who can follow the mayor's instructions.
Thank you. That's 3 minutes. Mr. Dommershausen.
Good evening. My name is Ron Dommerhausen. I live in off of the McGaw Road, Dommer's Drive in Dommersville neighborhood. The west edge of our property is edges to McGaw Park. Some of my objections to the proposal plan for McGaw Park are: I have a hard time agreeing with the thought process that 95% of the McGaw Park are dead trees. Mother Nature has a way of nurturing her trees and protecting them. Yes, they may not be perfect, but they are green. The Oak Savanna plan is just one way of gutting McGaw Park, and in hoping in 20 or 30 years you may have something. I use McGaw Park for walking. I get away from my computer and TV and get some quiet time. I enjoy being able to walk without seeing anything but trees and greenery, plus an occasional fellow walker and merely mentee dog walkers. I'm a quiet person. I am not interested in hearing everybody else's comments. Yes, when I get closer to the baseball diamonds and the soccer field or the shelter, I expect to hear the parents and fans cheering on their teams, so I attempt to plan my walks at other times. I'd like to have some high green growth along the walkway. I am not interested in seeing what the people over at the crossing are doing, nor do I want the park staff to redesign the current parkway paths, as I live within 200 feet of the current walkway, and that's close enough. Reading too fast. Yes, it is a Fitchburg Park, but we care for it as ours by helping those park cleanups events from the past. Sometimes I even offered to mow the trails, but I was informed no. Each and every park should have their own entity. So if anybody in a single parks department staff wants to have an Oak Savanna, please encourage them to go to McKee. If anybody wants hopefully a green walking path, come to McGaw. I hope to see one of you at many of the McGaw walking paths. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No questions. Thank you. Is there anyone else who, from the public wishing to speak? All right, I'll close the public comment portion.
You missed one. Robert Dommerhausen?
Isn't that who was just here at the table?
No. I'm Ronald. She's Robert.
Excuse me? Sorry, I did not realize that. I just saw the last name. All right, this is from Ron. Gives his address. Here's objections to the project. 95 disagrees that 95% of the McGaw trees are dead trees.
That's my report. There's another one for Robert.
A typed statement or just a? Okay. Found it. This is just Robert Dommerhausen, same address, registering in opposition.
Thank you.
So, my apologies. Okay. So now we have the comment session closed, and Anna Healy and Linda Brewer will join us. Anna Healy is the city forester naturalist. Linda is the chairperson of the Tree Advisory Committee. And as we discuss, she'll be making presentation, and Scott will have some things to say to us. And what I would like for them to do is stay at the table so that during our deliberations, if we have any additional questions, we can just ask them and they're right there. And also, if anything is stated that is inaccurate, if I say something that isn't quite right, I'm inviting either of them to just raise their hand and steer me straight, that type of interaction. So the first thing we will want to do then is a motion to approve our 22-24, the City of Fitchburg Forest Management Plan update. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And Sam DiMaggio has seconded. Okay. Now, Scott, is there anything you'd like to?
What I'll do is I'll just kind of introduce it.
Yeah.
And pretty much read it verbatim off the resolution.
Okay.
Resolution R220-24 is sponsored by Alder Vivardi and Alder Donald Dantzler Jr. It's a City of Fitchburg Forest Management Plan update. The McGaw Park Master Plan, approved by the Common Council in January of 2012, included Policy 2-2.1 to create a management plan for approval by the Park Commission for control of invasive species with the desire to protect the wooded area. The Forest Management Plan for McGaw Park, McGaw Community Park, and Seymour Johnson Neighborhood Park management plan was completed in 2016 with the Common Council approving a partial implementation of the management plan in January of 2018, which was Resolution 1718. This management plan included 5 distinct work areas. Resolution R1718 approved implementation of the management plan for areas 1 and 5. Staff is now recommending implementation of this management plan to include work areas 1, 2, and 3. Updates to the management plan shall include planting a buffer of native trees and shrubs along the park boundary as appropriate. Staff is further recommending the development of a city policy on public forest management for all of our public woodlots. We have about 10 total woodlots. I would add, if Resolution R 22024 is approved by the Common Council, staff will begin work on the Fitchburg Forestry Management Policy, including the continuation of the forest management work in McGaw Park. This work would be included in a new CIP proposed for 2026, at which time said work would begin. So there'd be a public opportunity to have a CIP project, and then we could discuss that. So.
Okay. And Anna, would you like to go ahead? Do you have a presentation you'd like to make?
If you guys, I can do that. I think you've mostly seen what it is. It's basically, why we came up with a plan to begin with and what's in the plan. I don't know if you guys really need that or not, because that's not really what you're voting on. I mean, you're basically voting to say, like, hey, we can move forward with, with implementing the plan in areas 2, 3, and 4, and also that would be working on a citywide woodlot policy. So I don't know if it's really that relevant or not. I mean, I can do it if you want it, but I don't know if it's
no, because really
helpful.
We're voting on the now be it hereby resolved.
Right.
That's what we're voting on, which says, by the Common Council, City of Fitchburg directs staff to update the forest management plan for McGaw Community Park and Seymour Johnson Neighborhood Park, including the implementation for work areas 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and further resolved, directing staff to create a City of Fitchburg forest management policy for all public woodlots. And that document that Scott and I just read from is in page 25 of 63 in the packet. And preceding that page is the map of the woodlots in the city that would be included in the plan that you begin to work on. Page 23 of 63 is the areas 1 through 5. One of the things that I was not on the Parks Commission in 2018, but I attended some of the meetings about this and then was on the joined the Parks Commission not too long after. And of the existing acreage of McGaw Park at that time, removing areas 2, 3, and 4 from restricting any management by staff of areas 2, 3, and 4 took a 40-some% of the park. I want to say 46%, but I don't remember, off limits to management by staff. So this puts that percentage of the park back into management. Page 22 is a photograph, and that's of S. Johnson Woods from this summer. And there's a lot of oaks in there, and there are some other tree varieties Anna would know. Yeah. And so that's the condition of that since it's been restored. One of the things I learned just doing some research about it is when that area was cleaned out, that was all under contract because the city didn't have a forestry mower yet. So if that were started today, the cost to convert it would be less because now the city has that equipment on their own and it's far less costly to operate or clear out areas. So that's what I know. Is there anyone who would like to comment or have any other questions?
I have a couple comments.
Okay, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in the science of this, right? So where we did some surveys, I saw they were pretty extensive from what I read in the 200-page document. Where are we now, right, relative to where that document had put us? I saw there was quite a bit of comment about the invasives in those particular areas, but I'm assuming based on what I've heard here that things have gotten worse in those particular areas, not better.
I would say that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't studied that, but we're going to make the assumption. So I've heard what everybody said here tonight. I'm more interested in the science part of it rather than the belief side. I know everybody believes that the merits of their arguments are sound, but the science that behind why we're doing this with invasive species, there's study after study that talks about why we should be doing this, and I think there are zero or no studies, at least I haven't heard you present any studies here to the contrary. So I'm a little puzzled as to why we're here just based on, I understand you get the opportunity to talk, but I just haven't heard any scientific information here that would contramand what we're trying to do in this resolution.
So your question, you want me to justify why we should?
My question was I was really just want to find out where things are, right? If we're going to vote on this thing happened some time ago, right? And so now all I have on your side of it is that you have some speculation that things have gotten worse. I'd want to know that that's the case, right?
Well, we can't get in there and do anything.
You could survey.
We really can't.
You couldn't go in and survey the trees?
It's difficult. It's really difficult for us to go in and do anything.
Okay. So, it's that bad?
It's that bad.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, and Heidi? Can you hear me, Heidi?
Hi, apologies, I was on mute. So I guess I'm sort of thinking somewhat along the lines that Sam was. I mean, every bit of research I've ever read regarding invasive species, they're to no benefit of wildlife or trees or shrubs or anything like that. So I'm not sure why we would be arguing to keep invasive species. It seems to me that that's sort of a given that you would want to get rid of that. And then, in time, if there's a plan to do an oak savanna, I guess, that's something different. But my question is more related to planting a buffer for whom? Is that for the neighbors?
Yes, it's to address some of the issues.
I'm concerned about that because I feel like we're going to be starting a precedent where anytime we make changes to a city park and get rid of invasives, that the neighbors are going to expect some sort of shrub or bush invasive to compensate for whatever they see that is being taken away. I guess if it were me, I would like to make an amendment to move this along, but I would take the buffer out because I really feel like that's setting a precedent that we shouldn't be doing. It was like when with the park and the water at, the swing set too close to the park, and we didn't want to set a precedent by putting up a fence. So I think, we kind of have to look at that in the same terms that we looked at that park. We should probably be looking at this park. I mean, no neighbors should be getting special treatment that other neighbors that we can't afford to do for everybody, I guess is my point.
So is that you're offering an amendment to the motion?
Yes, I would like to do that. I would like to amend this motion to remove the buffer. I'm in favor of everything else that we're planning on doing here, but again, I don't want to start a precedent with the buffer. So I'm not sure how we reword that. Maybe address concerns by neighboring, including the following: planting a buffer of native trees and shrubs along the park boundary as appropriate. I think maybe that whole sentence needs to be taken out, that we recommend the forest management plan address concerns raised by the neighboring property owners, and then skip that next sentence and identifying non-savanna trees to retain on the landscape.
Okay.
I'd love to hear from staff about that proposal.
Yeah, and we will.
Okay.
We have to have a second, and then we can discuss.
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. Anna?
I mean, that's fine. If you want to take the buffer out, that's fine. The reason we put it in was to address the concerns that you heard tonight. So, and you have good points. Can we do that everywhere? I don't know. Do people get special treatment? That's a different question. The entire reason that sentence is in there is to address some of the issues and concerns that you heard from residents earlier this evening. So that's why we put it in there. But
Yeah.
if you want to take it out, that's
there
that's
was a
fine.
concern about cost, so if you want to, from several of the people who objected to this resolution in the first place. So if you're trying to address their issue, you can also address it in that fashion.
That's true, because that would be part of the cost. That's true.
Yeah, the other comment I would have here is that the Park Commission is responsible. We're steward of all residents of Fitchburg, not just residents who happen to live next to McGaw. And so part of our deliberation has to be focused on what's the benefit for our entire community in this park, not just the interests of the people who happen to be vocal who live close to this area. And so I think you need to keep that in mind as we sit here and review some of the objections that you might have about this park, but also think about the greater good that this park provides by getting rid of these invasive species.
And I would if I can just echo, that's the staff's attitude too, that we serve everybody.
Another question, devil's advocate question about planting shrubs as a buffer. What happens 4 or 5 years down the road, there's a drought and half of them die? Yeah, that's good. Or 10 years or 15 years, or it's
maintenance. You're right. You're 100% right.
Adding to the maintenance issue.
Just, is there any advantage from keeping out seeds from other invasive? I don't know. I do agree. I love the perspective of being consistent and fair across all parks and thinking of all residents. But does a border protect seedlings from other invasives coming in, or is that not an...
No, you bring up a good point. We do have to take up the growing space. You can't just take the invasives out and hope for the best. You do have to do some kind of management. And in SC Johnson, you can see we cleared that, I think it was in 2018. And then we've done some weed management in there. And then we've planted all kinds of things, many of which were donated by Sue. So thank you, Sue. So yeah, you do have to take up the growing space. And so what we were thinking to do, mostly to address some of the concerns you heard tonight, is take up that growing space along that park boundary with native shrubs, but there's lots of different ways to do it.
That's not something you do normally then as a plan?
I haven't seen it done, no.
Thank you.
No, it's not.
Okay. Go ahead.
I have maybe a unique perspective. I manage 150 acres of woodlot in northern Wisconsin. My father and I, it's land our family homesteaded. And every fall, my 87-year-old father and I are out pulling buckthorn out, finding any prickly ash. And my father, he's 87. What does he have left? He wants to have a nice woodlot for his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And the land next to my home, I grew up next to a woods, like many of the neighbors here. The woods was right next to our home. And we had cows, and it was kept browsed down. It was a wonderful open forest. It was shaded, quiet, but there wasn't, violets would grow in the spring, jack in the pulpits, and after you start farming, now it's grown up. So when I visit him now, he's worried. He comes out in the winter and he finds now that there's a buffer there with the trees growing under there. Now he's got wolves in the yard. He's worried about killing his dog, and various things. That's no excuse, but I'm used to managing woodlots, and you have to take care of them. Otherwise, you just have a mess, which I feel like we do have. Second, I talked to some people that third generation that grew up in the area, and they have related to me. Talking to their. They knew their parents are gone, but they lived here long. This wasn't Oak Savannah before. We got federal money to buy the park from I believe it was Mr. McGaugh, and it was an Oak Savannah. But I would echo this point. Scott, brought up the CIP. There's no money. There's no money in the CIP for a project like this to happen, and it won't get put in there. Now, if it happens, it'll have to be through volunteers, friends of the park, partnering with the Parks Department. We're not going to be hiring another company to come in. This is going to, if it's going to happen, it would be Fitchburg residents making this happen. We don't have. There's not going to be $100,000 put in the CIP or $200,000, to do this. If it's going to happen, it's going to be people in Fitchburg that are going to have to roll up their sleeves and work with the Parks Department, which has some equipment, and to make this happen. So those are just my comments.
Joe, Christopher.
Thanks, Dave, for that additional information. I think I think the science piece is the driving force for me in regards to how we manage, and that we have to have a management plan. I do want to say that what hardens me, what's difficult is when you live next to a park and you love it, you fall in love with the space, right? And so I think, I'm hoping that we can come up with a plan that's sustainable, that we can garner that interest by neighbors to be actively a part of the process to manage the park and give even more. And the love that we're feeling here in opposition, I want to just acknowledge that. I understand that. When you have a piece of property that you are very familiar with, it becomes in essence a part of you, and I just want to acknowledge that. At the same time, the hardest part for us is finding a way to manage the park system, manage the land in a responsible way. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because I understand it and I feel it. And it's hard when changes come. So I just want to make that statement.
I wanted to talk about the idea of nature, and I agree with everything that my fellow Parks Commissioners have stated about science and nature. And I agree, when I've walked through there, I can see some wildlife, but the area is so choked and so full, it's minimizing the amount of wildlife. And there's actually a bigger variety over time, especially when all of the area is done, where it's a contiguous amount of area, that instead of deer just walking through, there's going to be something for them to eat, that type of a thing. And everything from the smallest insect up through an owl flying through a wooded area where they couldn't now, because the black locust is so close together. The larger owls can't navigate that. So there are good things that can come of it, and I also acknowledge that people who live nearby feel they're losing, there are things that are gained at the same time. So Anna and Linda, if there's anything else you want to add?
Thank you for considering the resolution.
Nothing, Linda?
Well, I think the only thing I wanted to add is that sometimes what looks like a healthy forest from a distance is not, and walking through it, the things that you've discussed become very, very evident. The airflow's not there, there's not sunlight coming in, and it's, but it sometimes is hard to figure that out, so.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because that's another element of the density of the shrubs and invasive trees is the lack of air circulation contributes to the spruce tree disease that I can't pronounce.
Yep, rhizosphere. So the spruce trees that are near the baseball diamond or the softball diamond, I'm not, well, it's the, that are.
The ball fields.
Exactly, the ball, thank you. The ball fields that's in Area 3, they all have rhizosphere needle cast, and that's 100% from lack of airflow. And some of them have actually died since we started talking about this.
Okay. And then some of those larger oaks that are dead is in, for various reasons, but all of them attributed mostly to the density, lack of airflow, more fungal disease that permeates and sticks around. Do I have that right?
Yes.
I think the tick and mosquito population is much higher in that area too.
Yeah, you definitely would have more ticks.
Yeah.
And mosquitoes love, I mean, you're going to have mosquitoes regardless, but they like to hang around there.
Yeah. They have lots of places to rest.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, so we have an amendment to the main motion, and the amendment is now going back to page 25 of the packet, removes the second last whereas. And I'll point out, we can vote on this and the council can, we're advising the council, they will decide. But the amendment was to remove the portion of it that says include planting a buffer of native trees and shrubs along the boundary as appropriate. That's the amendment. So we'll do a roll call on the amendment, and I'll start on my right. And then after that, we'll vote on the main motion. So regarding removing a buffer, that was Heidi Reynolds, seconded by Alder Herbst. And so, go ahead.
Correct.
I would be a nay on the amendment.
Okay, Chris Peguera's nay on the amendment.
Aye.
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Alder Herbst?
Aye.
Okay, so the amendment passes, and we will vote on the main motion. Same order.
Aye.
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 Alder Herbst?
Nay.
And Heidi, I'm sorry, forgot you, Heidi.
Nay.
Okay. So the motion carries with the amendment. Okay. So on we go to.
So before we leave,
Go ahead.
when will this be referred to council for the residents here?
Oh, it's February 11th, I think.
Yep, February 11th. Yep. Next council meeting.
The next council meeting is Tuesday. They meet at 7:30. And I think sometimes they even, regardless of where something is on the, well, it's not technically a public hearing for this, so it'll just be when the agenda item shows up in order. And that, I don't think that agenda is posted yet. Okay, 5B is Resolution R 18-25, acceptance of the Tower Hill Park Shelter renovation bids. And do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Heidi, second. Go ahead, Scott.
This is Resolution 1825. The Tower Hill Park Shelter renovation project was included in the 2024 CIP, and it was funded through the TID closure excess increment. Included in this proposal is the bathrooms of the shelter. The bathrooms of the shelter facility which was originally constructed in 1974, are in need of updating. And actually, the project will include updated ADA family bathrooms, new asphalt shingles, concrete access from the road, interior floors, doors and hardware, exhaust system, and plumbing fixtures. We did receive, this project was publicly bid on December 13th and January 3rd. We did receive a total of 3 bidders, with the lowest base bid coming from Harmony Construction in the amount of $332,456. What we did do, because we had an engineering estimate before it went out to bid, and we were definitely over budget. So what we did is we included some deducts, which included exterior security lighting, which was an $8,000 deduct, 2 large interior or exterior windows. If you're familiar with the shelter, there's kind of an inside area, and one window would go towards the playground, and one window would go towards the open-air shelter. So that was a deduct. We also went from the metal roofing system to shingles. So the project does have shingle roofing, and then actually wood ceiling refinished to the exterior canopy of the open-air shelter portion. Now with the base bid and the reduction, the deducts included, we're still $26,000 over budget. But there is enough dollars in talking to finance. There is enough dollars in the TID closure to cover the cost of this $26,000 overage. I would, if you're interested, staff would recommend the $4,300 to do the exterior ceiling of the open air shelter. What we're doing on the inside is we're actually putting wood ceilings on, and then actually it would be consistent out in the exterior. I will say that the Board of Public Works, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, what they did is they voted to accept the base bid, and then they actually voted to accept the security lighting and the refinishing of the ceiling of the open air shelter if there's enough dollars left in the TID, in the increment for the TIF district.
That's correct, Scott.
But it was only in that order. So if there's enough money for the security, they recommended that, and then if there's enough money for the ceiling, they also recommended that. So.
Okay.
On the ceiling, Patrick's familiar with this too. Go to McGaw Park. That was the exterior canopy ceiling was redone, and it's very nice. It's a very professional compared to it just had plywood in there before, and we would hope we'd get that same nice look on that. The security was the first. We put the security lights first. If it's lit, we feel there's less chance of vandalism, or if someone wants to sit there and chat with their friends at night, there's some lights there. But that was our first, and then the second, if there's money to do that ceiling. But again, those things we offered were contingent on if there's available TID funds. I don't know if there are or not. That finance will determine that, Sam.
And this is a budget amendment, so it would require 2/3 vote by the Common Council.
I went back there to look. It's been a long time since I was there, but the one thing, and I agree with the things that Public Works thinks are also important, I think what would also be helpful to families there is to put one window in that, so that people working inside getting food ready and managing things inside can see the playground from there. just that's my parent point of view. I just think that's very helpful. And so I'd like to make an amendment to our motion to include the priorities of the public works, but also add the window, one of the two windows, the one that would face the playground. So if the two windows are, roughly are $9,680, we'd be getting the cost of about half of that for the one window, I'm assuming. That was, the figure was.
About,
So that is my amendment to the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Chris is seconding it, and Heidi, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up. But we'll discuss it all as we go. Go ahead, Heidi.
Well, I'm just wondering, are there things that can be trimmed or perhaps put off in this project that would keep it at budget? With the economy the way it is, nobody really knows what's going to happen. And then, as the mayor has stated, we need to spend the money where it needs to be spent. So I'm just wondering if there are things that we can do to trim this back to keep it at budget.
Well, in what the base bid minus these deducts, which we really couldn't find any other itemized deduct, if you would, Heidi, that still comes in $26,000 over the budget that we have for the project. So to answer your question, is there anything else from the base bid that can get us get us to save that $26,000? It would be hard to pull something out of the base bid to get us to be under budget.
Scott, and
so there's nothing that can even be put like for a phase 2 and anything like that?
Right. I can't. Yeah, I wouldn't. $26,000. That's not an air dryer for your hands or a stool or that's. It's basically what we're doing is we're gonna gut it and put in new bathrooms and new flooring and new ceiling and and get it cleaned up, if you would. So yeah, I wouldn't say that there's anything in there that we could deduct from the base bid to subtract $26,000 more.
Now, part of the problem is, there's a good thing about it. It was built in 1974, so it's an entirely brick exterior, which is very nice. You wouldn't be able to do that today. But also, it was built in 1974. So fixing it really ends up costing a lot. And the fund is TID funds where there are regulations about it has to be closed out. So we have to use it up. Yep. And then that's where the Public Works group has said, well, because there's a last minute figuring of that account, is there money left? And here's a priority. If there's money left, may we please do A, B, and C? Well,
and we're thankful that the council decided to use TID fund. We've been trying to redo the shelter for years, and we're just thankful that the council decided that, this is a good one-time project and the use of TID dollars, and so we're thankful that we're able to get it funded. That's for sure.
Okay, so
can I just get a clarification? So with the windows that you're proposing,
the two.
So it would go security lighting if we've got dollars.
The ceiling.
Exterior ceiling if we got dollars, and then the windows.
The window would be third facing, and that window option is the one where people inside can see the playground.
Yep, that would be third on the list.
And we did have a second on that, didn't we? Yes, Chris.
Yep,
thank
Sue
you.
and Christopher. Right.
Okay. So, are there any other questions, remarks?
Can I ask a question about the window?
Yeah.
For facilities that have windows, are they harder to manage? Just trying to think long term, or does it not matter?
No.
Okay.
No. And what's really so nice too is it's going to bring light into that area, which is really
I can see the value. I just didn't know if there was more.
No.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny walking up to the building. It's a brick building, and it's the only windows are those ones that are tiny and way up that brings a little bit of light into the bathrooms.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we'll vote on the amendment first, adding a third, including the Public Works and adding a third of the window.
Nice.
Those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so that passes, and then on the main motion of the project in its entirety, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, so moving on.
Moving on,
Thanks,
yep.
everybody.
Excellent.
5C is Resolution R1925, acceptance of the McKee Park Shelter exterior renovation bids. A motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Christopher?
A second?
Second.
Okay, Sarah is the second. Go ahead, Scott.
This is the acceptance of the McGaw Park Shelter exterior renovation. This too was a 2024 CIP project. And basically what it was is where the exterior wood siding is in rough shape, so we're looking to get that fixed. We did get a price for LP Smart Siding. We did bid the project, publicly noticed it, similar to the other ones, on December 13th. And January 3rd, we only received one bid. Unfortunately, it was well underneath the $172,000 estimate. But actually the bid was over what we had budgeted. So we are going to need an additional $19,000 in order to make this project work. In discussing with finance, they recommended, because the CIP 264 is basically for shelter renovation projects. And what we've been doing, if you remember, we've been putting dollars in annually to build up a balance to get to a point, which we've been doing with Tower Hill, but we had a different funding source, so we're adding dollars to an account to eventually redo another shelter. We don't have a shelter in mind, but basically the finance wanted us to be aware that that might push that shelter back a year, but there are some dollars available to do this project. You know, it's got the base bid with the contingency, and for a total cost of $132,473.
Go ahead.
I would just add, that LP Smart Siding, that's a Wisconsin product made up in Tomahawk, Wisconsin at the mill, so it's a good product. My brother-in-law works there, but I've seen it many places, and it's a good product that will serve us very well.
Thank you, Patrick. I mentioned it's McGaw, but it's actually McKee. So.
Yeah.
Patrick, do I have to put that in the minutes, or could you help me?
Credit where credit is due.
You also said 132,473. It's 132,437. So.
I stand corrected. No, that's
Go ahead, Sarah.
I feel like in the past, when we've only received one bid, you've reposted it to rebid and see if more come in. Is there a rule, or would you recommend, or do engineers align with this?
Well, and that's a good question, Sarah, because actually the engineering department felt that this was a solid price. And actually, I should clarify that the engineering department checked references on all three of these projects, and they all came back good. So they were comfortable with that price from that contractor. So.
Go ahead, Alder.
Sarah, along that line, a project like this, it's a smaller project. The people that do the remodeling, they're flush with work, and they say, I don't want to deal with the governent. So the fact that we got a bidder,
we were thankful
I'm
that
happy.
we received one. Actually,
makes sense.
We've done a number we had a number of smaller projects at the senior center. We didn't get anyone to bid.
Yes, I remember.
So.
And Scott, the funds for this are in the capital, it's got its own capital improvement number, but it's money coming from the fees in lieu of,
No, these
No,
are all,
no.
nope, these are borrowed monies.
Okay.
Yeah, borrowed monies, yeah.
all right.
Yep.
So any other questions? We will vote all in favor of this R 1925. Say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, we are, D, 5D, R 20-25, acceptance of the McGaw Park pickleball courts bids.
I'll move approval.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All right,
Christopher?
Scott?
This is actually a project in which fee in lieu of parkland dedication dollars are utilized, which is nice. McGaw, it was included in the CIP 266. The new project will include 4 new pickleball courts, related fencing and gates, shade structure footings, expansion of cement patio, windscreens, court lighting bases, bike racks, and their installation. We did also receive some alternates. What we wanted to do is we wanted to do some storm sewer work to the east. Basically, it's a big ditch, so what we want to do is we want to put pipe in there and get some more flat space to the east, along with shade structures. We're recommending the base bid along with the shade structures and the stormwater improvements. We didn't have enough dollars in the CIP for the lighting, so that had to be excluded. We did receive 6 bids on this project, with the low base bid coming from Will Surge Electric at $304,427.15. We did, with the addition of the alternatives with the sewer or the storm system work, sewer system work, and the shade structures, plus a contingency of $25,000, brought the total cost to $392,375. And that we were able to get it under the budget, which was excluding the lights. We weren't able to put the lights. And actually, just for interest, the lights for the project from this bidder was $143,000. But we're getting all the footings and all the infrastructure there, so whenever the project is ready to go, we can go ahead and do it. And then actually the Board of Public Works, what they did is they removed the shade structures from the project. So a bit of information there.
Okay. Comments, questions?
Just, I just didn't feel, $35,000 for a shade structure. You can go over in the shelter after you play. We have a nice shelter you can go over, and you're playing in the hot sun anyway. We just didn't feel. There's other things, there's another park that maybe in that neighborhood, a smaller park that could use that money, or some other thing, and we just didn't feel that was a good use of the dollars to put in a shade thing. We don't have any shade structures on our tennis courts anywhere. So, for what it's worth.
Okay.
It's worth a lot, David.
Yeah.
It's
worth $35,000.
It was quite a discussion,
yeah.
actually. So no, that's good. It was a good discussion.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For the pickleball associations that do rent these, which I'm under the impression that that's actually very popular and is an income stream. Do they want shelters? Is that something that you receive from them from a feedback of where they would choose? And I'm only asking because I do feel like they told us in the past that they compete against our properties against Sun Prairie.
Yeah.
But am I
would think that they would be in favor of the shade structures. Is that what you're asking me, Sarah?
Yeah. And if did you receive any feedback from that organization as to if that would change their opinion on renting from us, or?
No,
Okay.
I think they were kind of assuming that they would be there.
Got it.
And I will say that the pickleball group has been so helpful in just managing the facility and all this in-kind work that this group is doing. They do a lot of rec programs. They what they do too is they have like greeters that'll greet new players and show them, because they have, it's called, what the heck is it, open play. So it's a designated time every, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, where it's open play. So everybody who wants to play comes there, and then they kind of manage them and show them. And so it's really, they do provide a lot of good in-kind service for us. So
I did meet someone who went to the open play and was really impressed.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know a thing about pickleball.
Exactly.
And she got involved and has been,
and it's really, and it's always
sticking with it. So.
Always packed. So maybe they can come up with $140,000.
Well, or at least 35.
Well, there you go. Leave the door open, right, Dave? Get a little skin in the game, like you say, right?
So this is borrowed money.
No.
This is a fee in lieu of parkland dedication money.
Okay.
That's used for
Just tagging
community parks.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Those in favor of our 2025, the McGaw Park pickleball bid approval, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Boy,
Any opposed?
3 big projects. Keep it moving, you guys.
bet.
That's really good.
Keep
That's
her
really
moving.
Good. Yep.
Okay. Agenda Area 6, we don't have anything listed. Communications, Scott, you've got a couple things to talk with us about.
Yep, this is the capital improvement plan that's coming up. So what I'm looking to do is bring staff proposed CIPs in, Jennifer? In March, and then we can approve them in April. And what I'm going to look at too is with the approved park and open space plan, there's some priority 1 to 3 priority projects that do include some CIP. So I'd like to put some CIP projects from that in there. And then, like I say, if our 2020-24 passes, I'd like to put some dollars in a CIP to begin to start to manage all of our woodlots. But that's a little bit of an update on the CIP process. Park playground selection process. Is the Park Commission still good with the idea of we going out and bidding it? We get all these proposals, and then we actually circulate those proposals through the neighborhood to get their recommendation on which one they would like to see, and then I bring that to you guys. I still think that's a valuable piece, but I wanted to double check with that.
Yeah.
And then finally, the park project update list. The Hatchery Hill grading, we actually got that figured out as part of the hub, so that's been approved. The Terra Vesta Egg Park, that one is kind of on hold, the back burner. Comprehensive park inventory, and actually I'm looking to maybe bring that back next time, and actually part of the CIP to begin to start to put some dollar amounts on it. For information for everybody. We got the hub, Stoner Prairie is going to be built this year, Tower Hill Shelter, McKee Siding, pickleball. Southdale Park Plan, we actually have RFPs out for the playground replacement at Rimrock. And then actually we had the playground project set for 2025 for Chicory Meadow. But what we did do is which I'm thinking may need a budget amendment at the end of the day, we decided to use the dollars from that 6259 to add it to Southdale along with the $60,000 that we have there for new. So we'll use the 6259 to replace the old and then supplement it with some new. So we'll have about $115,000 worth of playground equipment that we'll put at Southdale, which will be a nice improvement. We're still looking to hire professional services for someone to come in to put the bid documents together for the bathroom. If you remember, we got a bathroom, open air shelter, and then a little bit of a splash pad. So we'll look to do that this year, hopefully get that approved, and that'll fall into a 2026 completion of that project. What else? Chicory Meadow tennis courts. We actually have Fred, the person who helped us with McKee. He's working on the specs as we speak. We're going to get those out. And basically, because of the budget that we have, we're going to do, either a base bid or an alternate deduct, because we want to do the basketball court, but we don't know if we're going to have enough money to do both of the tennis courts. So we may only be able to do one of the tennis courts, but we'll kind of do an alternate and all of that and see where the funding comes in. But we're looking to get that done. Chicory Meadow gazebo paint, we'll get that done. Southdale Playground, Rimrock, Terravesa, open air shelter at the inclusive playground. We actually have engineering going out there to kind of do the grades and all of that, but we'll look to get, I don't see us getting that done this year. It just gets so busy around there during the summer, so we'll kind of work to try and see if we can't get it started in the fall outside of the season, then finished in the spring before the summer starts. Hartung Park Development. Over here is Hartung. We've got park, and they've got residences there, so we're getting a concept plan to get before you and actually try to get something done in there this year for the families that are in Hartung. Kids Crossing. We're working on the design to hire a professional to come in, and actually what our thought is that we're going to have someone who's going to put together the engineering, because there's going to have to be drainage and infrastructure and walkways and all of those kinds of things, along with they would search out the different proposals on what we would potentially have as a playground. And then once we get that figured, then we would bid the whole project with that selected playground. So you'll be involved with that at some point. But hopefully we can get that going so we can hopefully raise it in the fall and then get it built in the spring of 2026. And then 2026 projects. Kids Crossing, a couple playgrounds, Swan Creek Tennis Court. Looks like Chicory Playground, Southdale Park Plan, and then whatever kind of new CIPs we come up with for 2026. So.
Okay.
That was kind of long-winded, but I like to keep you posted.
It's good, a great summary.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, go ahead, Alder Herbst.
Scott, I lost track. Where are we with the Stoner Prairie?
They've got the playground, getting the playground ordered and all that, so once they're ready to come in and build it this spring.
It's this year.
Well, and I do have additional information on that, if I might. We've got the well house there, and we've got $150,000 set aside in the budget. We come to find out now, we were able to get $215,000 from the developer over there that they were kind of holding on to. So we have $215,000 coming that we can utilize for the bathrooms, whatever they come in. And then I'd love to do the prairie even this fall, potentially with some additional dollars. So that was kind of good news that we.
Okay, and the prairie was going to be worked on in-house potentially?
Yep. I think that, right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, and for 7C, it's something I can add an update for everybody. And before I forget, if this same section can be put in our packet for March, it will still pertain in March. So if we just do a copy and paste and put what you see in 7C somewhere in the March packet. For those out in the public who pore over all of our reading materials, it'll be there for them. But what this is, for many years, Dane County has had a project called Ripple Effects, and its main purpose is to help manage stormwater on people's private property. But they have an offshoot where, two offshoots. One is anybody from the public can buy plants from them, and that's open right now, and they're very nice quality starter plants, and the price is good. And so for the last couple years, I've applied, and so has the group in Chicory Meadows that in Sam's neighborhood. Individuals can apply for community projects, and you win participation. And when you win, what you win is the right to say you're part of the program, and you win the right to try to raise the money for the plants for your project. So there's a link here for anybody who would like to donate. And there's projects in Chicory Meadows, which that group, their neighborhood association, already fully funded it. So McGaw and Wildwood South aren't quite that far along. And so anyone who's interested can donate. The requirements for donation, it's $12 is your minimum. That buys a set of 4 plants. And then again, it'd be 12, 24, and on. And 2 other things people always ask, you don't, if someone donates, you're just donating the money, you don't have to select plants. The county looks at the site and they try to put together a mix that's appropriate for the site. And if you donate, you do not have to pick up any plants. That is for the person who signed up for the grant and won the opportunity to pick up the plants and plant them. So, yeah, I'm a winner. I just can't stop winning.
Well, what else say that?
Okay, so that's what that's all about. And so, unless there's questions about that, go ahead with staff reports. Scott?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anything on staff reports for Scott, I should say.
Any questions for me?
No, and Patrick wanted me to read, a citizen, Patrick Cheney, with a Fitchburg address, asked me to read regarding it just says snow removal. The January snow was 1.9 inches in tenths at a time. What snow removal was needed? There was a remark that staff was engaged in snow removal. I had snow plows come through on my street, so I will say that there was snow plowing done.
I'm not picking up what's being laid down.
Well, must have been in Joran's report that snow removal was listed as one of the
things.
Staff items, and Patrick's comment is that there wasn't at 1.9 inches for all of January. What snow was there to remove?
Hey, Sue?
Go ahead.
We always feel somewhat blessed these years without snow, and we asked our Director of Public Works, can you explain what the crews are doing when there isn't snow? And he kind of caught him by surprise, but he gave a very long list, and Scott probably knows, it's tree trimming or they're catching, there's many things they're doing that, when there isn't snow, they're not sitting around the shop if you ever go to the shop on any day, by 7 o'clock, 7:15, no one is there.
It's deserted.
It's deserted. They are out hitting it, and so they have activities to fill they're getting things done for the city when it's not snowing.
In case in point, it's really kind of reserved for the forestry operation. So a winter like this year, we could really be doing a lot of forestry woods management work and doing a lot of stuff with that.
So those guys over by Kyle Swigert, they did that whole area over there when you go up the hill. I don't know, it was unreal.
Yeah.
So good work.
And they just
There was a lot of work there too, so I was really impressed.
Yeah.
No, they're.
But, I do know, because I live on the collector street for our neighborhood, Osmondson, so they plow those main streets in every neighborhood, even though they might not get to all the little ones. And we did have episodes of snow where they were plowing, so that's, yes, oh my gosh. All right, any other questions or comments on the reports? Next 2 Parks Commission meetings are the 6th and April 3rd. And I will not be at the March meeting, and Sarah Schroeder tells us she will not be at the March meeting, so everybody else needs to be there. Cancel your plans. You will be here.
Sue, I'll plan to call in, but I'm going to be in Canada, so I'm not 100% sure how good my internet will be. I'll try. I'll check. I'll know by Monday.
We still have a quorum? Okay. All right.
We're going to be looking for a chairperson, though. That's what we're going to be looking for.
I'll know on Wednesday when I get there if I have internet service, and if I don't, I'll text or send someone
Well,
Okay.
Sam will pinch hit. He'll run the meeting. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Chris, yeah,
Chris too. Yeah.
Christopher,
We'll figure it out.
you can each take a section.
We're gonna go for the record.
Okay, so a motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
and Sam is second. Those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned at 7:24.